Hello, everybody. I'm Ricky Smith. Welcome to Faith on Friday Presents. At Faith on Friday Presents, our goal is to drive motivation by closing the door on the comfort zone, to foster inspiration by exploring what's possible, and to challenge all those things and creating a transformation to make sure that your unproductive mindsets get checked. Today, of course, is no different, but don't forget, subscribe to our YouTube channel, like our Facebook page, and follow us on Instagram. Pet lovers, we know you love your fur babies. They are the sweet little honey pies that make sugar in your day. You love them, you walk them, you feed them, you dress them up. So many questions why. But when they get sick, when they get hurt, it breaks your heart, hurts your feelings, and you do everything you can to make them better. But what happens if they need a chiropractor? Today, we're actually going to talk to an animal chiropractor. Her name is Dr. Jennifer Andrade. Everybody, please say hello to Dr. Jen. Hey, Jennifer, how are you, ma'am?
I'm great. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh, Dr. Jen, this is so good. When we talked earlier, I was absolutely struck by the profession, but we'll get into that in a little bit. Right now, Dr. Jen, tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're located.
I am a chiropractor, so I'm a human and animal chiropractor, and I'm located in Wheat Ridge, Colorado, which is a suburb of Denver.
Okay, because as soon as you said Wheat Ridge, people were going, where?
What?
So I know, what's that?
Exactly.
But thank you for sharing that. So there's so many questions here. You are a chiropractor,
Yes.
but you work on humans. And now you're doing chiropractics for animals. Explain.
Yes. So I would love to. So I've been a human chiropractor since 2014, and I've always loved animals. I wanted to be a veterinarian when I was a little girl, and I never really felt like I found my niche. Like I loved working with my people, but I just felt like something was missing. Like I wanted something to kind of bring a spark of passion back into my practice.
Mm,
So I decided to marry my love of animals and my love of chiropractic. So now I'm an animal chiropractor.
wow. Now, what does it take to be an animal chiropractor? Do you have to go back to school? Because I can imagine the school that you went through to become a human chiropractor. What do you do different to become an animal chiropractor?
Yeah, it's a great question. So you actually have to do a animal chiropractic certification program. I think there's maybe seven or eight in the country. I don't really remember how many there are, but only chiropractors or veterinarians can actually go into this program. So it can't be lay
Okay.
people. It has to be somebody that has a background being a doctor either with animals or with humans. And it's a 210-hour program. My
Wow.
program that I went to is it was in Dallas, Texas, at Parker University, and you go once a month for 5 months for a 3-day weekend. And it's really intense. We're there
I
pretty much
bet.
all day, and
Mm,
we learn about the anatomy and the neurology and how to adjust. And for me, learning animal behavior and how to handle animals. So,
mhm.
yeah, it's a
Wow.
pretty rigorous program, but it's really rewarding.
I bet, especially if it's your love that you're doing it for. So, Dr. Joan, what animals do you work on? Because I'm thinking, do snakes need a chiropractor? I don't know. Help me out.
Like any animal with a spine, which a snake does have a spine, could use chiropractic. But I'm in Colorado, so we're allowed to adjust dogs, horses, donkeys, mules, and zebras.
I,
Right?
wait, I heard all of that, and then at the end you said, and zebras.
And zebras, because they're very similar to a horse.
That's true. Well, there you go. Now, so anybody who has a pet zebra, y'all, there's a place. Now,
Right?
you
I'm your
said
girl.
that's it. Now, you said there's only a few of you all in the country.
Yeah, there's not a ton of us. There's two licensing boards.
Mhm.
There's the AVCA, which is the American Veterinary Chiropractic Association, and then there's an international version.
Mhm.
And I know in Colorado, I think we have about 35 or 40 of us AVCA certified animal
Okay.
chiropractors, which
Wow.
is not a lot. I mean, we're a fairly big state, not as big as
Hmm.
Texas, but that's not a lot of animal chiropractors. Most people
No, it
just don't
isn't.
know that it exists.
Right. But so with it being so few of you all in the country, Are you licensed all over the country, or is it specifically for the state that you're in?
It's typically specific to the state. It's really because animal chiropractic is a fairly new profession.
Hmm.
They established a school in the 80s, and we've been working towards getting these board certifications.
Hmm.
Um, we're fairly, new on the scene, so there's not a lot of us. Remind me what the question was. Sorry.
That's okay. Are you located? Can you practice anywhere in the country or just in
Nope.
Colorado?
Yeah, so Colorado, I am licensed to practice in Colorado. Now, if I
Okay,
wanted to go to neighboring states, I could apply for certain, their certifications or
got it.
licensure there, but it's very different from state to state. We're really lucky
Okay.
in Colorado. We're direct access, so I don't need
Hmm.
a veterinary referral. I don't
Okay.
need supervision, but there are states that need veterinary referral or need an actual veterinarian in the room while you're
Right.
adjusting.
Now
So
that is
we're,
so interesting though, because like I said, you are a chiropractor already, but you work with
yep,
people. And now as an animal chiropractor, in some states, they still need a veterinarian in the room.
yep, yep.
Hmm.
Because all the different states have very different practice laws, and
Yeah,
some recognize animal chiropractic as a legitimate profession
I
and have
see.
created legislature and licensing for it, and some
Hmm.
still consider it illegal. So it's really like, yeah, because it's
Illegal.
still so new, right?
Oh my gosh. Okay, we're going to get into that legality in a second. So when you're out, horses, donkeys, zebras, dogs, whatever, what is it that they're calling you for? So, Fluffy has a limp and we don't know what it is. So they've probably gone to the veterinarian already, right? And
Oftentimes, yes.
and I don't know what a vet would tell them, Fluffy's going to have to deal. At what point do they find you?
So a lot of times it's for things like that. They've gone to their veterinarian and the veterinarian hasn't really been able to figure out what's going on, or they're just able to manage it with medication.
Mm,
Some people are looking for more holistic options, or the recommendations that the vet is giving them is maybe without outside of their budget.
mm,
For example, I'll share a story about that if you don't mind. So
please.
I have a dog patient that was running around in the yard one day, and then the next morning woke up and she could not get up. She was paralyzed.
Oh,
She couldn't
wow.
use her front left leg.
Mm,
And they took her to the emergency vet because obviously they were concerned because she couldn't
hmm.
move. And they did some imaging and they did lab work, and they basically said, we don't know what's going on. Give her these meds. If she doesn't get better, we need an MRI. MRIs
Hmm.
for animals are very expensive, more
Wow.
expensive than a lot for humans because
Hmm.
there's a lot more involved. You have to put them under anesthesia, all kinds of things. So they were quoted like $5,000 for an MRI.
Whoa.
And unfortunately, that was not within this pet parent's budget,
Hmm.
as much as they wanted to help her. So
Yeah.
I had a human patient of mine that knows this person that
Okay.
gave him my number and said, hey, you should try to talk to my friend who's an animal chiropractor. So
Hmm.
I went and saw this dog. And after one visit, she sat up. And I saw her last week. And I think it was our sixth visit. And
Hmm.
she ran to the door to greet me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Victory. That has got to be so rewarding. You mentioned something that I'm sure a lot of pet parents are wondering. How expensive is a pet chiropractor? Because a lot of us that go to chiropractors, human wise,
Yeah.
you have so many visits, they're usually referred out by a doctor because, our PCP has said go to this specialist, which is a chiropractor. What are we looking at when Fluffy needs to have an alignment?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it's definitely not going to be a vet visit expense, but because I am mobile, so I see animals
Oh.
in their homes or at a
Mm-hmm.
different location, not in office.
Mm-hmm.
I start at 120 for an initial exam and an adjustment, and then follow-ups are 85 for
Wow.
dogs. A little bit more expensive for horses because you typically have to go further. There's a little bit more risk. They're bigger, right? It's a little
Yeah,
harder on my body. And it takes a little bit longer with
I
horses.
bet. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to visualize what this looks like as you
Yeah.
are adjusting an animal. Now, for people who have been to a chiropractor, you go in, they talk a little bit, they lay you down. I don't know, they crack you, break you, all the things, whatever. What does that look like for an animal, for a dog? Because I can't even get to horses, donkeys, and zebras. But so many
Yeah.
questions there. What does that
So
look
many
like
questions.
for a dog?
Yeah. So I normally schedule a decent amount of time, at least an hour on that first visit to get acquainted because
Mm,
we're working with animals, right? Like we can't explain why we're there and what we're doing. So I like to really give them time to get familiar with me. I talk to the pet parent about what's going on
mm,
and, pet them, get them used to me, give them lots of treats. I am also a treat dealer. I bring all kinds of treats and only the best treats because we want it to be a positive thing for them.
Sure.
And then I'll examine them similar to what you would get at a human chiropractor,
Hmm.
examining the joints, doing some neurological testing, and then we adjust them. For dogs, I typically adjust them on the floor just because it's easier. The
Yeah.
biggest difference is they don't lay down, right? Like I can't tell
Okay.
the dog to lay down. A
Right.
human lays down. They
Hmm.
are standing, right? So
Okay.
it's just a little bit different because they're standing, but that's what they're, accustomed to
Hmm.
doing and they respond really well. It's obviously very different for a horse.
Yes,
But
girl,
yeah,
go all in. How are you adjusting a horse? Because
yeah,
horses are big.
they're very big,
And I
very,
don't
very
see
big.
you being 6'10", Dr. Jen.
No,
I'm just
I am
saying.
5'4". So I'm a petite powerhouse. I am not a big girl. But it's all about leverage,
Hmm.
right? So horses are taller than us. So we
Hmm.
get basically fake hay bales. I don't know if
Okay.
you've ever been around a hay bale.
Mm.
They are heavy and they're not the most sturdy, right? Like they're just
Okay.
tied up and they can kind of fall apart. But we
Sure.
basically have it's foam that's really
Hmm.
light but really sturdy, and then they put vinyl over it so it can hold
Okay.
up. And we
Hmm.
stand on top of bales, sometimes two, one, two, sometimes three, depending on how tall the horse
Wow.
is,
Hmm.
to be able to give that leverage so that we can adjust
Yeah.
their spine. Yeah.
This is absolutely fascinating for me. So now there is an animal chiropractor on YouTube.
Uh-huh.
I've seen them, and after we had chatted the first time, I went back out there just to check it out. One of the things that you notice on that, and we had talked about it before, is the cracking sound.
Yeah.
I have never been to a chiropractor. It scares me to death to think that they'd be snapping my neck, breaking my back, all kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
the sound of it. Does it happen when you're doing it with animals?
It doesn't often happen when we do it with
Okay.
animals. So we were talking about this when we talked before. So
Mm-hmm.
what really is happening when you're hearing the pop is that we actually have a bubble of gas in the joint that gets released in that moment when we do the adjustments, when we move that
Ah.
joint. And it happens more often than humans because we sit upright like this, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
we get that gas bubble, we lay on our side, and then that gas bubble moves, kind of like if you've ever seen a level,
Okay.
if you
Yeah.
know what that is,
Yeah, I
that
do.
moves. And then
Mm-hmm.
it gets into a position where we can actually have that gas bubble burst during the adjustment.
Okay.
Animals are oriented like this, right? They're
Mm-hmm.
on all fours.
Sure.
So oftentimes we don't get that gas bubble in that position
Mm-hmm.
to actually have that happen. So
Mm-hmm.
um, I'm not saying that that's not actually happening, but I
Sure.
have not found that to be the case that we see a lot of
Yeah.
noise that happens.
Yeah.
We see different things that we're looking for to
Mm-hmm.
know that we had a successful adjustment.
Yeah.
Animals are very sensitive and energetic beings, and we look at
Mm-hmm.
different nervous system signs that
Okay.
tell us
Yeah.
licking, chewing, their eyes really soften. Sometimes their head will just get like, they're like, oh. And
And
dogs,
rest.
a lot of times when we say head to tail shake, that like big, like full body shake, that's like a good
Yeah.
sign, like
Oh my
that
gosh.
we had a really
Yeah.
successful adjustment.
So now, Dr. Joan, what is something that you tell pet parents? Because as you heard in the introduction, pet parents love their fur babies, and the thought of them hurting or being in pain is sometimes more than they can stand. How do
Yeah.
you comfort the pet parents?
How do I comfort the pet parents?
Mm-hmm.
Well, obviously, I educate them about when to know when your animal is in pain because they can't like tell you, "Hey, mom, I'm in
Yeah,
pain." They can't verbally tell you.
sure.
So I educate them on some of the signs to look for. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of that is behavioral, right? If your dog normally, runs to come greet you at the door and is all of a sudden just like laying on the couch and kind of looking a little bit forlorn, that might be
Mm-hmm.
an indication that he's not feeling good. Or if they normally jump right up into your truck and now they're
Mm-hmm.
not, they're
Mm-hmm.
doing that to avoid pain. That is
Mm-hmm.
like what they're actually wired to do. But
Yeah.
what I try to do to comfort them is, this is a great way to help relieve pain for them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we're going to get them moving better. We're going to get their body to actually functioning better to actually bring that pain down.
Yeah.
Right. And we can actually see some of those things. We're going to see that they are start to do some of those things that maybe they stopped doing, or
Yeah.
they're acting more themselves.
Yeah.
So
Traditionally, how many sessions does it take to get a dog back to themselves that you've seen?
so it can vary from dog to dog or animal to
Mhm.
animal based on, their age, what we have going on. But what I typically tell pet parents is we know if this is going to be a good fit, if chiropractic is going to be beneficial for them. It's always
Mhm.
beneficial, but it may not be like the thing that we need for whatever we're
Right,
training.
right.
Within 3 to 5 visits, we
Okay.
typically know that we are on the right track, that this is going to kind of get us where we want to go towards
Yeah.
that goal. They
Mm-hmm.
respond really quickly because
Mm-hmm.
they're not as stressed as we are, and they want to feel
Yeah.
good. Naturally, that is like they want to feel good and do the things that they
Yeah.
love to do. So,
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So now, Dr. Jen, because the animal chiropractic is pretty new,
yeah,
if somebody watching this, they're like, man, my animal may need this. What are some
yeah.
tips that you can give them in searching for an animal chiropractor?
Yep. So first thing I would look at is I would look at an AVCA or IVCA certified animal chiropractor. We talked about that at the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
but that's we talked a little bit about it. So it's actually a board certification that's basically equivalent. So that they were tested rigorously
Mm-hmm.
and held to very high standards to know when an animal needs chiropractic, when they don't need a chiropractic, or when they shouldn't have chiropractic, which is really
Right.
important. So
Mm-hmm.
they've gone that extra step to instill confidence in pet parents. So that would be the
Mm-hmm.
first thing I would look at. They have directories, and most people will show you that they have those credentials. So that'd be
Okay.
number one. And
Mm-hmm.
then you can Google it, you can look online, you can search animal chiropractic because there's not a lot of us will
Right.
typically pop up, right? Somebody that's going to educate you and that has some good online reviews. But number
Yeah.
one, ABCA or IBCA certified
That is so good
animal
to know.
chiropractor.
I mean, like I said, it's a new thing, but
Yeah.
let me ask you this. Are all dogs in your case, because you do dogs, horses, and that thing, is I'm still stuck on the zebra, girl. I don't even know what to
I
do with
know.
myself. So, are there some instances where animals will not respond to chiropractic services?
There are some, and it's hard to predict. Sometimes you get a feeling as a practitioner, you just kind of get a gut feeling like maybe this isn't what they need. Sometimes you think that they're going to respond and they don't. But
Yeah.
that's why I give pet parents kind of a nice guesstimate on like, let's give it 3 to 5 visits within a period of time to see
Right.
if this is going to benefit them. We're going to see like, are they moving better? Are they in less pain? Are some of the behaviors that we were noticing changing? So that can be the case, but I always want to start with that 3 to 5 visits. And then if it's working, great, we'll continue. If not, I
Right.
will try to connect them with another
Mm.
practitioner that can help them. That could be rehab, that could be acupuncture. There's a lot of different options for animals out there. Yeah.
Acupuncture. I'm sorry, and I'm getting over a cold and all these other things. So, excuse me. Now animals are getting acupuncture. I've never
Yes.
had acupuncture. I've never been to a chiropractor, and my dog can get it. I
Yeah.
and my pet zebra, but that's just me. I mean, I just think this is so cool. It is the
Yeah.
neatest thing. So now, Dr. Jen, if somebody wanted to reach out to you, find you, or maybe just continue this conversation or ask a couple of questions, where's the best place for them to find you?
Probably the easiest way would be to go to my website, which is www.elevatehealthchiro.com. And when you go to the website, I do have human stuff on there as well, but you can navigate to the tab that says animal chiropractic. I have some education there. And I also have a way to contact. So if you want to contact me for more information, or I interested in setting up a discovery call. So I do offer a free discovery call where we get on in a video chat and we talk about what's going on and seeing if it's a good fit. And then I can answer any questions that you might have before you decide to book.
That is so perfect. Don't worry, everybody. If you did not get her contact information, everything is going to be in the description below. And don't forget, subscribe to this YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Instagram. Dr. Jen, my friend, before I let you go, we got to play a game.
Ooh,
This
fun.
game is so simple. It's called What's on Your Mind? I'm going to give you a couple of sentences, and you're just going to finish them out for me. It's pretty simple.
Okay.
All right.
Great.
You ready to play?
I'm ready. Let's do
Let's
it.
do this. In the morning, I would love to be able to blank.
To drink a cup of coffee and sit with my dogs on my patio.
Aw, that sounds so nice. And so
Yeah,
less stressful than what actually probably happens in the morning, huh?
great.
When I go to cook, my go-to kitchen tool is
Air fryer.
ah, yes.
Yeah,
From
you can
turkeys
make
to chicken
anything
wings.
better in an air fryer.
100% the
Highly
best French
recommend.
fries on the planet. Mm.
Yes, you will never have tater tots or French fries out of the oven again.
Never, ever, ever. Trust me. I know. I know. My perfect day is what?
Hiking.
So you're a big hiker. Well, yeah, you live in
I
Colorado.
am. I
That
do.
makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Winter hiking or summer hiking?
I like spring and fall are my favorites because I'm not a really hot weather girl, but it's a
Mm,
little precarious sometimes in the winter because it's icy. So,
that is so true. Again, Colorado. So,
yes,
okay, I gotta throw this in there. When I go to the zoo, my favorite animal is what?
that's really hard for me to decide, but I'm always drawn to the big cats, tigers, lions. So I
Okay.
don't know, I've always been so impressed with them.
Yeah. The last time I sat down and wrote a letter was,
That's a really great question. I'm not sure that I know. Wrote cards, Christmas cards to my patients back
well,
in
that's
December, but
nice.
a letter, I'm not sure when was the last time I wrote a letter.
Right? So be aware somebody's getting a letter from Dr. Jen. I just know this is going to happen. And
Yes,
finally, Dr. Jen, I would go back and tell my 13-year-old self what?
follow your heart.
That's nice. Well, what was
Mhm.
13-year-old Dr. Jen doing?
Oh, that's cool.
Being a good girl,
Yeah,
no doubt.
exactly. I was a very good student. So yeah, I was going to school
Mm,
and doing that. So.
that is awesome. Dr. Jen, thank you so much for joining me today. This has been really fun.
Thank you so much, Ricky. It was really fun. I enjoyed it.
Uh, all right, everybody. That's it for this week. But don't worry, we'll be back next week with more Faith on Friday presents.